What you're about to hear may change how you see your entire life, especially if you're over 45 and feel everything slowing down. It began with a simple gift wrapped in blue paper. Matthew's 49th birthday. A 9/11 hero firefighter retired on disability. A widower, father to a young nurse. His daughter Lily handed him the package with a smile. "Promise you'll read it. I highlighted the important parts." Matthew smiled skeptically but promised. He never imagined that book, The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn, would awaken something he didn't know still existed. Oh, what happened next? You'll need to watch till the end. Because the journey that started on a silent Brooklyn night ended with a new life, a new purpose, and a new bank balance. Stay with me because I'll show you how thriving after 45 isn't just possible, it's what life's been waiting for you to do. Subscribe now. This story will move you deeply. Chapter 1. The Photo on the Shelf and Life on Pause. Matthew Reed woke at 6:12 a.m. every day. His body didn't know he was retired. The routine dragged on without purpose, yet his biological clock still pulsed as if the firehouse alarm might blare any moment. Jersey City lay quiet that cloudy autumn morning. His daughter Lily had already left for her hospital shift. A handwritten note waited by the microwave. "Dad, almond milk latte. Promise you'll give the gift a chance." The present sat untouched on the dining table. A slender book with a vintage cover and gold lettering. The Game of Life and How to Play It by Florence Scovel Shinn. Lily had handed it to him the night before, like passing down a family secret. "A self-help book," he'd grumbled. "No, it's a code. I marked what you need to see first. But it only works if you read with your heart." Matthew couldn't refuse. Lily had been his only steady light since his wife Marie died 10 years prior. A rare cancer. 10 months between diagnosis and her last breath. And since then, he'd stopped. Not physically but inside. On the living room shelf beside his firefighter medals sat the photo that froze time. Him and Marie embracing in front of Engine Company 49's truck. Taken 1 week before September 11th. A blast. Collapse. The rescue. It all plunged him into a hell of smoke and shrapnel. Matthew survived, but with a permanent leg injury. Disability retirement. Honors. Hero. But heroes drown too. He'd earned a psychology degree after retiring, perhaps trying to understand himself, yet he never practiced, never felt worthy to guide others while being chaos himself. Now this book sat before him, highlighted, given by his daughter. Matthew opened to the first page. A pink highlight framed. "Fear is merely inverted faith. It is faith in evil instead of faith in good." He stared for seconds. Reread it. Faith in evil. Maybe that's what he'd been feeding for years. He closed the book, breathed deep, then opened it again, and began to read. Do you also feel on pause after 45? Ever heard of Florence Scovel Shinn? Comment if you've read her work. If you're here, maybe you're seeking a new beginning too. Like and subscribe to continue this journey with us. Chapter 2. The underlined phrases and the discomfort they cause. Matthew sat at the kitchen table, his coffee gone cold, the book open before him. The soft morning light streamed through the windows, casting shifting patterns of shadow across the floor. He'd read 3 pages, and already, irritation simmered within him. Not the explosive kind, like in his old days when he'd faced fires needing containment. This was subtler, quieter, yet persistent, as if each sentence silently challenged him. Lily's second highlighted passage waited. Every great achievement begins with a confident request to the universe. Matthew let out a short, ironic laugh. Right. Ask the universe. That solves everything, he muttered. Yet he kept reading. Beneath the skepticism lay fear. Fear of believing again, of standing up for something, only to fall deeper. For years, he'd declined speaking invitations, interviews, even veteran outreach work. Claimed he wasn't whole enough. The truth. He couldn't imagine a new version of himself. He was the firefighter, Marie's husband, the retired hero, period. But Lily persisted. And now this book. Another highlighted section. Words are a form of energy, and energy shapes reality. That stung deep. Matthew had always been a man of action, not words. If this were true, then everything he told himself daily was shaping his reality. I'm not good for anything anymore. I'm a burden to my daughter. I've given all I had to give. These phrases echoed inside him more often than he'd admit. He snapped the book shut, walked to the bedroom, sank into the brown leather armchair Marie had chosen years ago. Beside it, the framed photo of her with young Lily at the park, smiling. How he missed that time. Not just the past, but who he'd been in it. The doorbell startled him from his thoughts. Mrs. Henderson from downstairs. Good morning, Matthew. Sorry to bother you. Could you help me change a light bulb? My ladder broke. He hesitated. His legs still ached on cold days. But he said yes, climbed carefully. Help. They talked for 5 minutes about nothing and everything. Returning to his apartment, he felt something shift. Thread of energy. As if, for those minutes, he'd been useful again. Important. He reopened the book. Another highlight. With every act of generosity, you give the universe permission to surprise you. For the first time, he didn't scoff. And for the first time in years, he considered sleeping differently that night. Maybe even trying that ritual Lily mentioned. Not yet, though. Not yet. For now, he'd read the whole book. But with his heart, as his daughter asked. Have you ever been afraid to believe again? What phrase from a spiritual book has most impacted you? Comment here. Do you also have internal phrases that you repeat every day, and that may be shaping your reality? Chapter 3. The game of life begins to move its pieces. That night, Matthew didn't sleep well. It wasn't insomnia. It was as if the silence itself was full of words. Words from the book. His own words. And especially Lily's. The next day, she walked into his room with her hair hastily tied back, her nurse's uniform on, and a hopeful smile. So, Dad, did you start? Matthew looked up from his coffee and sighed. I did. And I'll admit, it's weird. But I'm reading. She walked over, kissed the top of his head and said, Weird is just the beginning. Trust me. You've been sounding like your mother, you know, he murmured, a little emotional. Lily paused, smiled softly, and simply said, Good. When she left, Matthew stared at the empty doorway for a while. Then he walked over to the bookshelf. He took out Florence's book and opened it again to the page marked with a yellow sticky note. Night Ritual, Transformation Through the Word. It was simple. Silence, gratitude, affirmations before sleep, surrender. It seemed almost childish. But there was something comforting in its simplicity. He read more throughout the day, and even though he felt almost foolish, something inside him whispered, Keep reading. Your daughter still expects so much from you. Don't let her down. And that night, for the first time, Matthew did the ritual. Lying down, he stared at the ceiling and spoke softly, almost as if he didn't want God to hear him if he got it wrong. Thank you for today. I release the past. I am ready for something new. My life is transforming. Everything that is mine by divine right comes to me with ease. And then he slept. Without realizing it. He slept with a lightness he hadn't felt in a long time. The next morning, as he went downstairs to get the newspaper, a man in a gray suit holding a tablet approached him. Mr. Matthew Collins. Yes. Sorry to bother you. I'm with a team filming a documentary about the 9/11 firefighters. Your name came up. Would you be willing to talk? Matthew froze, swallowed hard. Who recommended me? A former journalist, now a holistic therapist, named Clara White. She said she met your daughter at a retreat. And that you were a living story waiting to be told. Matthew smirked. Of course it was Lily's doing. Can I have some time to think about it? Of course. Here's my card. He walked back to the apartment holding the card, his heart racing and a strange feeling in his chest. Movement. It was as if, after standing still for so long, the universe had pressed a button. When you take the first step in faith, the path opens before you. The highlighted line from page 42 now seemed written just for him. That morning Matthew sat down, opened an old notebook, and for the first time in years began to write. It wasn't anything grand, just thoughts, but the game had begun, and he finally was playing. Have you ever performed a bedtime ritual that changed your energy? What affirmation would you like to repeat tonight? Have you ever felt like the universe was just waiting for you to take a step forward? Chapter 4. Clara White and the conversation that opened a new path. Matthew tried to ignore the card in his pocket for 2 days. But it was as if it burned through the fabric of his pants every time he sat down. On the third night, after another silent ritual and a confusing dream where he walked through flaming hallways only to end up in a flower-filled garden, he decided to call. Clara White answered on the first ring. Matthew Collins. I knew you'd call, she said, her voice soft but firm. Matthew paused for a second. Your confidence scares me, Clara. She laughed. Florence Scovel Shinn would say it's not confidence, it's faith. Do you have time for coffee tomorrow? He hesitated. Yeah, in the afternoon. Perfect. I'll send you the address. The next day, Matthew walked into a small organic cafe in Brooklyn. The place looked like it was straight out of a European film. Soft ambient music, walls lined with books and framed spiritual quotes. Clara was a woman in her early 50s, with wavy white hair and lively eyes. Lily told me about you, she began. She said you don't realize it, but you're transforming. Matthew smirked. I'm just trying not to lose it. That's great. You know why? Because it's when the mind slows down that the soul starts speaking. And I think you have something to say to the world. Why did you recommend me for this documentary? Clara folded her hands on the table. Because the world needs to hear stories like yours. Not just about heroism but about rebuilding. About healing. Florence also said, the word has creative power. Maybe telling your story is a way to manifest the next chapter of your life. Matthew didn't answer right away. But something about this woman and this place seemed to disarm him. I got a degree in psychology a few years back. But I never thought anyone would want to hear what a broken firefighter has to say. Don't underestimate the value of your pain. Doesn't define you. But it can turn you into a bridge. Clara pulled out a small envelope and slid it across the table. This is an invitation. 3-day retreat. Men's circle. Healing, purpose, reinvention. I want you to go. You don't have to answer now. But think with your heart. Matthew took the envelope without opening it. On his way home, he remembered a phrase Lily had highlighted. Whatever man feels deeply or visualizes clearly is impressed upon the subconscious and manifests. Had he, deep down, already been imagining a new version of himself? That night, he did the ritual with more intention, firmer voice, clearer words, a surrender more truthful. And for the first time as he finished, he whispered something even he didn't expect. I'm ready. Little did he know that whisper would be heard. And the next morning, something entirely unexpected would arrive. A stamped envelope and an offer that would change everything. Would you accept an invitation that could change your life, even if you didn't understand how? Have you ever felt that your pain could have a greater purpose? What would you say today if you were ready to start over? Chapter 5. The White Envelope and the Voice of Destiny. The next morning, Matthew was drinking his coffee when he heard the mail drop at the door. A white envelope, thick, different from the usual bills and flyers. The return address read, Healing Horizons Institute. As he opened it, a mix of surprise and suspicion rushed through him. It was a formal invitation to speak as a guest lecturer at an event on emotional resilience and purpose after trauma. The letter referenced his 9/11 experience and his psychology degree. At the bottom, handwritten, was a note. Your name was warmly recommended by Clara White. Matthew brought a hand to his face. Had this been her plan all along? Lily walked into the kitchen and saw the open envelope on the table. Dad, what's this? He hesitated. Looks like they want me to speak at an event about my story, about rebuilding. Her face lit up. Dad, this is perfect. Florence would say the universe is responding. Don't you see? He took a deep breath. It feels like someone just turned on a light in a room I've been sitting in for years. But then came the sabotaging thoughts. You'll freeze in front of people. You have nothing to say. They'll just see you as broken. He closed his eyes, went to his room, picked up Florence's book, and read aloud a passage Lily had highlighted. Fear is just inverted faith. Faith in evil instead of good. He sat on the bed, did the ritual as he had every night. But that morning he added something new. I release this fear. I trust in my new version. I let good manifest. That afternoon, he wrote an email confirming his attendance. At the end of the message, something made him smile. He signed it as Matthew Collins, psychologist and survivor. For the first time, he didn't feel like an imposter. 2 weeks have passed. The event took place in upstate New York, at a retreat center blending spirituality with human development practices. Clara greeted him personally. I knew you'd come, Matthew. He shook her hand firmly. Still in shock, but something inside me knows I need to be here. You do, but more than that, the world needs you here. The room was full. About 80 participants of all ages. People who had lost loved ones, jobs, health, direction. Matthew stood in silence for a few minutes before taking the stage. He looked at Clara. She simply nodded and whispered, Remember, speak from the heart, and trust the unseen. He stepped up, took the microphone. Breathe. My name is Matthew Collins, and for many years, I was just the surviving version of myself. The room fell completely silent. For the next 30 minutes, Matthew didn't read notes, didn't use slides, didn't posture as an expert. He just spoke about the fire, about loss, about the silence of the soul, and about a daughter who believed in something he couldn't yet see. By the end, the audience was on its feet. Some were crying. Clara hugged him tightly. Now, the world has finally begun to hear what you have to say. On the train ride home, Matthew gazed at the sky through the window. He didn't know exactly where he was headed, but for the first time, he knew where he was leaving from. Have you ever doubted yourself the very moment fate knocked on your door? When was the last time a sentence from a book changed the course of your life? Are you afraid of being seen before you're healed? Chapter 6: A Door Called Purpose. The days following the event carried a strange peace. Matthew felt like someone who'd finally found his own name after years of being just a number or a label. Hero, widower, retiree. Now he was simply himself. On Tuesday morning, Lily found him on the porch reading the same book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. You're really into it, huh? She said, pouring coffee. He looked up. His eyes were bright. Lily, this book is breaking me apart and putting me back together at the same time. She smiled, satisfied. It was the first time in years she'd seen light in her father's gaze. And there's more, he said, pulling a folded paper from the book. Get the seed of an idea. A draft titled, Rebuilding, Healing Through the Word. Dad, this is amazing. I thought, what if I created something to help others who are also stuck in trauma? Not as a clinical psychologist, as someone who's lived it. Someone who understands. Florence would say you're listening to intuition, Lily replied, moved. Maybe that's exactly it. Matthew spent days shaping the idea. He wrote on paper, his phone, napkins. Woke up at dawn with phrases in his head. Started organizing everything. Then Clara called. Matthew, there's a community center here in the Bronx. They're starting a cycle of emotional support workshops. Can I suggest your name? Silence. Matthew. Yes. Yes, you can. Just give me 2 days. I want to prepare something special. 2 days later, he stepped into the community center. The room was simple but full of warmth. Single mothers, grieving young people, men fresh out of the prison system. People who were wounded but still alive. Matthew brought only one object, Florence's book. He began the first circle with a question. Who here has ever thought their life was over, even though they were still breathing? Nearly every hand went up. Me too. But I learned something. Life doesn't end. Change is the game. Only no one teaches us the new rules. He opened the book and read. A person's word has magic power, for it is the expression of their creative thought. And let's be clear, this isn't religion. He looked at each face. Let's start from zero, rewriting those words. From the inside out. The group became a success. Week after week, Matthew led sessions, each with a reading, an exercise, and a personal story. People who'd never read a book in their lives started bringing highlighted passages. Hardened men began writing letters to themselves. Silent women found their voices. And Matthew felt at home. It was as if every pain that had once crushed his soul had turned into fertile soil. And from that earth something was growing, purpose. That night, back home, he performed his usual ritual. Dim light, prayer, silence. But before sleep could take him, Lily knocked on his door. Can I come in? Of course. She sat on the edge of his bed. Dad, I have something to tell you. I got a job offer in San Francisco. It's a big opportunity, but I'll only go if you're okay. Matthew took her hand. Lily, go. Life, I'm here. And I'm back. She smiled, eyes glistening. He continued. The gift you gave me, Florence's book, it helped. But you were the one who lit the first candle. Lily stood and walked to the door. Before leaving, she turned back. Dad, you've become my greatest inspiration. The door closed. And Matthew, lying in the dark, smiled. Because even in the absence of light, he finally knew exactly who he was. Have you ever felt like you were coming back to life after a long time? What quote from a book transformed your way of seeing the world? Who was the first person to reach out to you when everything seemed lost? Chapter 7. An Unexpected Invitation. The last meeting at the community center had been the most intense yet. A 23-year-old named Terrell shared how the sessions helped him quit drinking and apologized to his mother after 4 years of silence. Matthew didn't cry in public, but that day his eyes glistened. On his way home, he felt something different, as if guided by something greater than himself. Quiet pull, a gentle certainty. As he walked in, his phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Mr. Matthew Reynolds. Speaking. This is Rachel Mendel, Wellness Program Coordinator at Columbia University. One of our consultants observed your community group and submitted a remarkable report about your work. Would you be open to a conversation? Matthew froze. Columbia. The university? Yes. We're collecting real stories of emotional impact for an outreach project. Are you available to visit campus this Friday? He took a deep breath. Yes, I'll be there. In the days that followed, Matthew wrestled with an old foe, the fear of not belonging. I'm not a speaker, not a famous therapist. I don't have the credentials. But each time doubt crept in, he opened the book, especially the passage Lily had highlighted. Man can change his condition by changing his words. Friday arrived. He wore a simple button-down, dark slacks, and carried Florence's book like a talisman. The reception at Columbia was warm. Rachel led him to a round table with coffee and 3 professors. "Matthew, we want to understand what you're doing. Why does it work so well?" He exhaled. "Because I don't try to fix anyone. I just show how I used words to rebuild myself. And let others find their own voice." Silence. Then applause. "That's exactly what we're looking for," Rachel said. "Authenticity. Transformation. Clarity." She leaned forward. "Here's our proposal. What if we turn this into an online course with the university's backing? We'll handle the framework. You just need to be you." A warmth spread through Matthew's chest. For the first time in years, an offer born not from pity or protocol, but recognition. "I accept." On the subway home, he grinned like a kid. Beside him, an elderly woman read the Bible. "Ma'am, do you believe words can heal?" She looked up surprised. "Son, it was the word that saved me." Matthew touched his chest. "Me too. Though in my case, it was a woman named Florence's words. Godlit. At home, he called Lily in San Francisco. "Sweetheart, I went to Columbia today." "What? How?" "They want to turn the group into an online course, with me leading it." Then quiet sobs. "I'm so proud of you." Matthew glanced at the bookshelf where Florence's book now stood displayed, between his old firefighter diploma and a family photo with Amanda, his late wife. Life takes turns, but it never closes a circle without purpose. That night, he wrote in his notebook a phrase that would become the title of the course's first module. "Words are a bridge. Crossing them is how we begin to live again." And for the first time since 9/11, Matthew slept without the weight of being just a survivor, because now, he was a sower of seeds. Do you believe that life can begin again after 45? What quote from a book changed the course of your life? Would you have the courage to share your pain to heal others? Chapter 8. When life decides to start over again. The days after Columbia's proposal found Matthew writing for hours, scribbling, organizing stories. Not to impress, but to remember. To relive every turning point that brought him back to life. With the university team's help, he began structuring the course. He'd given it a name that came to him like a revelation. Starting over isn't weakness, it's spiritual courage. Every recorded module reshaped an old wound. Pain became seed. Silence became lesson. Loss became bridge. And in another pivotal shift, Columbia was paying him for this work. His professional life, too, was in motion. One day, while reviewing a course video, he heard his own voice say, "Life doesn't reward those who fake strength. It honors those who dare to begin again." The phone rang. "Lily. Dad. Have news. But you have to promise not to cry." He laughed. "Zero promises." "Shoot. Stanford's nursing school is using a clip from your course. The module, The Word That Holds Us Up, is now required for a class on trauma recovery." Matthew went silent. For a long moment. "Dad, you there?" "Yeah. Just breathing this in. Do you even realize what's happening?" Softly, he replied. "For the first time, I do." That night, he walked through the neighborhood. The city no longer looked gray. Sirens didn't make him flinch. The past wasn't a thorn anymore, it was fertilizer. He stopped at his old firehouse, where he'd served for 20 years. The building was now a community library. A poster on the door read, "Healing Stories. Talk circles every Thursday." Inside, 7 people sat in a circle. The facilitator, a silver-haired man with a calm voice, recognized him. "You're Matthew Reynolds." "Nod. Join us. Your story's been inspiring folks." Matthew sat. "Listen. Smile. Cheered." Then, an elderly woman asked, "What do you think saved you, Matthew?" He paused. "Not one thing. 3. First, a daughter who believes when you can't. Second, a woman named Florence who left eternal words in a book. Third, a choice. To not end your story just because one chapter did. Back home, an email waited. Matthew, I'm a writer for New York Spirit magazine. Your story's becoming a symbol of rebirth for men over 45. Would you grant us an interview? He read it twice, closed the laptop, opened the window. Wind rushed in like the whole city was cheering for him. Then he took Florence's book. On the back cover, he scrawled a new line, a summary of his journey so far. Time doesn't erase who you are. It just waits for you to remember. That night, he performed the same ritual that rebuilt him. Lit a candle, 3 deep breaths, and allowed to the flame. I am new. I am guided. I am needed. I am abundant. The universe sustains me. My purpose is clear. And tonight my spirit renews. Then he blew out the light. And slept not as a man carrying just memories, but a mission. What if a simple ritual could change the course of your life? Have you ever read a book that seemed to speak directly to you? Do you believe there's still time for your turnaround? Chapter 9. A new game begins. Matthew woke early that Sunday. Something was pulling him out of bed before dawn. The sun hadn't fully risen, but his mind was already alight. For the first time in years, his body didn't feel heavy. There was a clarity, quiet, a strange, almost childlike certainty, like remembering something long forgotten. In the kitchen, the amber glow of the lamp reflected off Florence's book, The Game of Life and How to Play It. He reread one of Lily's highlighted lines in a hushed voice. Man can change his conditions through the conscious use of the word. A quiet smile. Maybe the game isn't over for me after all. And it wasn't. The idea came simply, almost casually. As he made breakfast, he remembered the dozens of times he'd calmed traumatized colleagues or rookie firefighters just by talking, by choosing the right words. He'd always had a way of reaching people's hearts. But until now, he'd never seen that as something valuable. The week before, encouraged by Lily, he'd started jotting down ideas for a support project, something for retired first responders and veterans like him, who'd seen the worst and now felt lost. It would be informal at first, maybe online, but with one key difference. He wouldn't speak just as a licensed psychologist, but as someone who'd lived it, with soul, with scars, and now with faith. When Lily heard the plan, her voice cracked. Dad, you have no idea how much this could help people like you. It's not just about you getting back up. It's about pulling others up with you. Silence. Something vibrated in his chest. And you know, she added, Florence says when we put our gifts to work for the world, the universe moves to reward us. In ways we can't even imagine. They built it together. Lily helped with digital tools, set up simple Instagram and YouTube pages, and together they chose a name, Men of Valor. For his first video, Matthew spoke plainly. No drama, no self-pity, just truth and faith. He talked about what kept him alive. The grief of losing his wife, the guilt he carried, and the day a daughter, a book, and a new perspective changed everything. The video spread like wildfire in veterans groups. In 10 days, he had 3,000 followers and dozens of raw, grateful messages. Some asked when meetings would start. Others just thanked him for putting words to feelings they'd buried. But one message shattered him. I'm Brian, 22 years on the force. Tried to end it twice. Your video felt like a scream from inside me. Thank you for existing, brother. If you start a group, I'm in. I want to live. Matthew's hands shook as he read. And for the first time in years, he wept. But these weren't tears of pain. They were release. They were purpose. What about you? Ever thought your deepest wound could be the very thing that heals someone else? Ever felt that your pain, when walked through with faith, could become your mission? Drop a comment below. Which part of Matthew's story hit you hardest so far? And if you haven't subscribed yet, now's the time. Come with us to the end of this journey. Because the next chapter It'll give you chills. Hit that notification bell. You won't want to miss what's coming. Brian, if you're reading this, we see you. Keep going. Chapter 10. The game has changed. Matthew strolled through Central Park, golden leaves swirling at his feet. His phone buzzed. Another thank you message from the Men of Valor community. It was strange. No marketing schemes. No aggressive strategies. Just weekly videos sharing the lessons that had rebuilt his life. Active faith, the power of the word, spiritual courage. And the universe responded. Each video became a whisper for souls starving to be heard. The first in-person meeting happened on a Saturday. He'd rented a small co-working space, expecting 5, maybe 7 people. 23 showed up. Men of all ages, mostly silver-haired. Many arrived silent, guarded. But when Matthew spoke, raw, unscripted, the ice cracked. They saw truth. Scars like theirs. For the first time they felt seen. As it ended, a 62-year-old veteran stood. I came today just to see if I could still leave my house. But I learned something else. Can still live. Thank you, brother. Matthew exhaled. The game had changed. Weeks later, Lily burst in waving an envelope. Dad, remember that holistic conference in Vermont? Where I got my real father back. How could I forget? Well, I showed them your work. The organizer watched your videos. She wept. They want you as a keynote speaker. All expenses paid. Matthew laughed. A disbelieving, joyful sound, like a man still learning to receive blessings. Me? A speaker? Lily grinned. Florence would say, there are no limits in divine mind. Only expansion. More invitations followed. Podcasts on mental health. Retreats for retired first responders. People hungry to listen. People desperate to live again. Yet Matthew stayed the same. He still woke early. Still read Florence's book each morning. Still whispered his favorite affirmation in the mirror. I am a clear, open channel for infinite good. Money, health, peace, and joy seek me and find me. Now he understood what Florence meant about being the cause, not the effect. No more waiting for luck, pensions, or politics. He was the source. A divine conduit in motion. Lily watched him, quiet with pride. Know what's most beautiful, Dad? What? You didn't just get rich in money. You got rich from the inside out. Now the rest is following. He smiled. And in that moment, he realized true wealth. Not numbers in a bank account, but purpose reclaimed. Joy rediscovered. The privilege of mattering. The power to heal lives just by showing up. It was living again, but this time awake. What about you? Did you feel that tug in your chest? Which chapter of Matthew's journey stirred something in you? Drop a comment below. Your words could be the nudge another heart needs. And if you haven't subscribed yet, this is your sign. Because here every story carries power. Even yours. Hit subscribe. Your breakthrough might be the next story we tell. And to the silent reader scrolling these comments, yes, you. This is your invitation to begin. If you've made it this far, it's because something inside you still believes. In second chances. In hope that defies age. In life that blooms anew. Even after 45, 50, or 60. Matthew didn't have a career plan anymore. He had a calling, purpose. And when he started listening to his soul, instead of his fears, doors began swinging open. This story isn't just his. Could be yours. No matter what's been taken from you. As long as you don't quit the game, the universe still plays on your side. As Florence Scovel Shinn would say, nothing is too small for God. And nothing is too big for him either. So today start with what you have. With your age, with a pain you carry, but start. The rest, the invisible, will reveal itself. If this touched you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And leave a comment. Which part resonated with you the most? All Florence Scovel Shinn phrases used in this video are also pinned in the description and comments. Copy, save, repeat. Until the next video.